Coverage of HOUTEX 33 from the Memorial Park Tennis Center here in Houston, Texas. We're just underway for the semifinal match of the men's open division versus number 1 seed Jon Guerrica versus number 3 seed Patrick Smollen. Joining me in the booth, men's open singles player Jake Bishop. Jake, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? It's going to be a good match, I think.
It's going to be an excellent match. Great match to have for the very first one of the day. So let's talk about these two players for a second. Let's talk about the number 1 seed, Jon Guerrica, his biggest strengths.
Well, Jon is Jon is kind of obviously his backhand is his best shot. He hits that ball so hard, and he kind of hits it hard from anywhere in the court. He's really working. He's making a conscious effort this whole tournament to play a little more aggressively off of the side. You see right there, I mean, so much power just off of the return. 15-30 here. It's a good serve from Smollen. 30 all. That's a long rally, and it's going to be a lot of that type of point. I think that neither of them really like to come in too much off of the baseline. They both really hit well from the back of the court.
And what do you think Patrick's biggest strength is?
Well, we played him doubles yesterday, and he's just really steady. I wouldn't call him a pusher. He definitely hits hard. He kind of absorbs the pace of whoever he's playing, and he really kind of thrives off of it. The harder you hit to him, it's like the harder it'll come back to you. He also doesn't like to come into the net very often, and just kind of hankers down in the back of the court.
So we got two baseliners here.
Yeah, for sure. That was just out from Patrick, so that's a break point opportunity here for Jon right out of the gate.
How important is that when you start off in the match to get that early break?
I think it's really important, especially at this level of tennis. It just gets you in a positive frame of mind just to start out the match.
That's a great shot. Network there from Patrick. For someone who doesn't like the net, he did a good job there.
He did. If you notice, he took a swinging volley there instead of the overhead.
Right.
He was really struggling yesterday with overheads. I don't know if it was because he was tired or what, but that's a good effort to get back to a game point here to hold to start off the match. Sometimes it's really hard to hit the overhead. I think a lot of us at this level would much prefer to take a swinging volley, Venus style. It's just something you don't ever practice. When you're going out and you have like an hour of court time reserved, you don't sit there and take like 20 minutes of overheads. It's not very fun.
I tell you what, it's great to do when you're frustrated.
That's true.
A nice on the line shot there from Jon.
That's the thing. Jon can do really well with the backhand. You don't really know where it's going. It'll go. He hits the same shot anywhere he's going on the court. It goes the same. It looks the same when you're on the other side.
Well, Jon had a bye in the first round. In the quarterfinal match, he beat Thomas Nguyen pretty handedly, 6-1, 6-1. Patrick Smollen had a bye in the first round. He had a go at it with Tony Tran, winning 7-5, 3-6, 6-2 for them both to advance in the semifinal match.
His match with Tony actually was a cat fight. It was a lot closer even than that score looks. Like the 6-2 was, there were a lot of deuce games in it, and he was a little lucky to get through. I mean, Tony was playing extremely well. He kind of got tired, he said, afterwards. So yeah, I think that's sort of what happened. But
he's not seated either.
Yeah.
He had
that guy hits really hard. I mean, wow.
Only 13 players in the men's open draw this year. Jon Guerrica seated number 1, Dan Garza number 2, Patrick Smollen number 3, and Matt Glasgow is seated number 4.
Yeah, and I think all the seeds actually made it through to the semis, which is that's a very rare thing in GLTA whenever the seeds hold up. Because the seeding system is so strange. I mean, it's not really indicative of who's playing well at any given time. It's just sort of who's accumulated the most points whenever the draw has been made. So you could have played 3 years ago
and get a high seed.
You could get a high seed because you didn't play a tournament for 3 years.
Oh, that can't be fair.
No, it's not. I don't know what.
I'm just saying.
Right. They don't really have a way to not do that. I mean, that's kind of what they have to do.
Well, I guess it's tough because everybody can't travel to every tournament.
Right. No, I think if cost wasn't an issue, they would.
What, you guys are not making money like Venus?
Yeah, not really. I think Jon has a clothing sponsorship with
the University of Georgia.
Yeah. That's about it. A couple of people wear, I think, grinder patches on their sleeve or something like that. I saw a couple golden arches on people's arms. Or maybe that was just the bags they were carrying. Oy. See, maybe they should have taken 20 minutes to practice that last time we practiced. Or he should have taken a swinging volley. That's actually his bread and butter shot. He loves the backhand swinging volley. I think it becomes a matter of pride sometimes. Really good hitting.
Yeah, Patrick put that right on the line. I think it probably surprised Jon there for a second, sends that ball long.
But yeah, I think it is definitely a matter of pride sometimes with the overhead, because you want to prove to yourself that you can actually hit a good overhead.
Right.
So you go for it even though it's maybe not your most comfortable shot. Not speaking from personal experience or anything.
We'll get an update on the score in a second. I'm hoping Jon calls it out. Getting the open players to call out scores is kind of difficult. They get really into their games and they don't think about it. I ask. I don't get my requests all the time, but I ask. think he said deuce. All right, so we're at deuce. Just long.
You gotta. That's the one thing you have to watch with Jon's game is a good indicator of how well he's playing is how he's hitting his forehand actually, because if he's hitting his forehand flat and hard, he's feeling confident. It's not his bread and butter shot, but if he's kind of pushing it a little bit, then he might be a little tight.
Nice shot there from Patrick.
Yeah, I mean this one's gonna be tight. They're both really good. I think they're both gonna be better on the receiving end than serving, which is kind of weird. But
Love 15. That ball sailing just a little wide. It's 15 all.
it's a really good approach shot.
Nice and deep too.
Yeah, he's really good when he's coming in. Yesterday must have just been sort of a fluke, I think, a negative fluke, if that's a thing. Well, I mean, you do, these tournaments, you play a lot of matches, and I think by the end of the second match, you can feel a little tired. That's probably what happened. It's a pretty good serve there from Patrick, and 45 now. In points. It's a very good defensive shot there from Jon. Patrick come up with a volley, and that one time he actually missed one. So very weak reply on the return from Jon, and Patrick holds. It's 2-1. That's the thing. I think he's not really returning as great as he's been returning.
You're watching live coverage of the men's open division semifinal match. number 1 seed Jon Guerrica versus number 3 seed Patrick Smollen here at HOUTEX 33 Memorial Park Tennis Center in Houston, Texas. Don't go anywhere. Got more great tennis for you in a moment. We'll be right back. Jon Guerrica serving.
Boy. A little lucky there. John's definitely a little tight. I don't know why exactly, but he's playing a little nervously. Yeah, and Patrick actually is one of those players who, like we were saying earlier, he does like the pace a lot. So a really good tactic whenever you're playing somebody like that is to do what Jon just did and sort of hit lighter shots, especially off the forehand side. It's going to throw off his rhythm a little bit, which is, I think, exactly what happened on that last point.
So I guess now with you living in New York, it'd be easier for you to play Liberty. Did you play Liberty this year?
I did play Liberty, yeah. I live in Astoria, which is pretty close to the National Tennis Center, about 10-minute drive. Not that anybody has a car, but yeah. So I played this year and hosted a couple of people who also played.
Oh,
so,
that's good.
Yeah.
So is the experience at Liberty as good as everybody says, despite the heat?
You really have to be some sort of warrior to play the Liberty Open. I mean, to play it well. Oh, that's a great shot. And a good hold from Jon is 2-all. What it is, I mean, it's a combination of things with the Liberty, because not only is it excruciatingly hot, and you're playing so many matches, and it takes you about an hour to an hour and a half to get to the tennis center, so you're exhausted by the time you even get there.
Oh my goodness. No easy train?
There's the 7 train, but unless you're along the line, it's a little difficult.
Takes forever.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't run express on 4th of July weekend, which is part of it. Just out on that forehand. Forehand broke down a little bit there. 15-all. I think on the hierarchy of tournaments, though, I think that the Liberty is pretty high up there. Maybe just because you are playing on the U.S. Open courts. It's pretty cool. Especially if you don't live in New York and you don't get the opportunity to play there a lot.
or even see the U.S. Open. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, seeing Arthur Ashe right in front of you is a pretty cool experience, and you're on the grounds, and it kind of, it's cool. It's a very cool experience if you haven't done it. But you'll be in a world of hurt if you do it at the same time.
So get that conditioning in early.
Yeah. There we go. It's 15:30. Jon's got a little opening here to get back up a break.
Beautiful.
That is a great shot.
Jon Guerrica with a nice shot.
Really, really good defense. It's such a cliche, but people always say, make him hit one extra ball, make him hit one extra ball.
And I actually really thought he was going to get that winner, too, with that overhead. I thought it set him up pretty well, but...
You mean his swinging volley, you mean? He definitely did not take that overhead.
I was trying to be nice.
But that's the difficulty with the swinging volley. You have to hit it really well to put that shot away.
Yeah.
Whereas the overhead, you can bounce it over the person's head if you hit it correctly. And that's a little disappointing to be up 2 break points, and now it's back to deuce on a return. But he was going for the return, which is what you really need to do when you have those break points. Oy.
I know Jon's got to be disappointed with himself.
That happens a lot with him.
You said it, I didn't.
He's prone to histrionics, that one, that's for sure. Everything he makes a lot of grand gestures on the court. Trying to be as diplomatic as possible here. That goes just wide, and a racket goes flying in the air, and it's 3-2. Patrick Smollen's in the lead. It's on serve, though.
You're watching live coverage of HOUTEX 33 here at the Memorial Park Tennis Center, Houston, Texas. Back in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. We're on serve. Jon Guerrica serving, the number 1 seed here. Semifinal match, men's singles.
It was a nice deep ball that Jon hit that drew the air from Patrick's shot.
$15 love. So I noticed that when Jon serves, he's really almost a double serve. He's almost in that doubles lane.
I don't know why he does that. I've actually told him several times that he needs to change where he stands. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, he leaves himself open for somebody to do a killer return on him.
It's true. He mostly does it on the ad side, though. I don't know why this.
Yeah, I noticed it's not as bad where he's at now.
But it's strange. The angles that he gets off of his serve are a little deceptive.
Do you think it's a disadvantage, or do you think it just sets him up for trouble?
Oh, where he's standing? I think. Yeah. I think he's good enough where it's not going to make too much of a difference, but I think it's very strange. In doubles, I'm playing doubles with him this tournament, and he stands almost outside the alley on the outside. Like he says, the very edge of the alley to serve on that side, and I don't understand. It's not like he goes out wide on the serve either. He just that's just where he stands. I don't know. I'm wondering. Actually, I think I do know why he does it, because he favors his backhand heavily. And he's a lefty, so he's giving himself more court to hit a backhand. And his serve is good enough that nobody's going to sit there and hit forehands down the line and make him run for it.
Right. Harder to play a lefty against a righty? Or you think it doesn't matter?
I think it depends. That was really bad footwork from Jon. And that's what he tends to do with his forehand. He doesn't really... He's not as explosive at all when you compare it with his backhand. And he doesn't put his weight... He has no weight transfer on his forehand. And that's why he misses it into the net quite a bit. But no, I mean, righty versus lefty, I think it's just a matter of being aware of what that person's strengths are. Jon is actually more like playing a righty because his backhand is so much better than his forehand.
Right.
So if the traditional knowledge is, okay, you want to play somebody's backhand, because at our level that tends to be the weaker shot for most people, then you would want to play somebody like Jon. Well, you would, in theory.
Right, exactly. It's funny because, I haven't played tennis in a long time, but way back when I was in college, I actually loved my backhand, and I'd rather use my backhand than my forehand any day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like I could have more power in the backhand than I could in the forehand.
And, it just depends for people. I think the forehand is the easier shot to learn. But if you've taken lessons and been instructed how to hit a proper backhand, I think it can be stronger.
It helped me. I mean, when I was a kid, I had the opportunity to get tennis lessons, and I started to favor the backhand more.
That is very disappointing after being up in that game, and it's a break for Patrick, and Jon is down 2-4 here.
So did either Jon or Patrick get an invite to the World Tour Championship? You know?
I know Jon did not. I'm not sure about Patrick. Jon it has the cut. I didn't know that the cutoff was passed yet. I think Jon's whole rationale for playing this tournament was to get some extra points so he could get an invite. So if this cutoff is done, he's in for a rude awakening.
He's in for a rude awakening. We were talking to Dan, the commissioner, yesterday, and the cutoff was New Orleans.
Okay.
So this is next year's effort.
Jon, retire. Retire from this match. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go party. We don't have to. Why are we here?
So just in case you're watching for the first time, the GLTA World Tour Championship is January 31st through February 2nd in the Orlando Tennis Center, Orlando, Florida. And so players, the top 8 players in every division who score the most points in all the tournaments that they play get an invite to go to the World Tour Championship. And that, the last game to qualify for that was the New Orleans tournament. And that was what, 2 months ago? Month and a half ago?
Yeah. Maybe a month.
Yeah.
It was pretty recent, but so I assume that the points from this tournament will go towards
to the next one.
2015.
Exactly.
Okay. It's still an incentive to do well and get off to a good start.
Oh yeah.
The tour championships are a blast. They really kind of pull out all the stops, and you get to play round robin in singles, which is something you never get to do in the regular tour events. And it's really great. Everybody there is really good in their division, so you get great competition every match, and everybody's really pumped to be there.
Well, hopefully we'll be there. We're slated to go film it, so just waiting on a couple of last-minute sponsors to help us out. With any luck, we should be there.
Spell it out for me. Talk to me. Break it down. I'll put on your favorite song. Sounds nice.
Remind everybody that the chat room is open. If you never watched one of our live streaming games before, starting with the Columbus Classic up in Ohio, we started doing chat now while the matches are going on to give you an opportunity to jump in the chat room, offer your comments, well wishes, insights. So feel free to jump in and tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's when Jon hits this sort of like 75% shot is when Patrick's having the most trouble with it. And it usually comes after he's hit a few pretty hard shots, and then sort of an off-pace shot, and then Patrick will put it into the net. But it's hard. You can't really like rely on that as a strategy that somebody's going to make a mistake off of an off-base ball.
That might be setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
I don't have to do any work. Let's just let the other player make the mistake.
It's hard though. I mean, sometimes you fall into that mindset. It's perfectly natural when you see somebody making a few mistakes. You're like, well, maybe I just have to keep the ball on the court. Then all of a sudden you find yourself down 2-4. I actually like that play from Jon, even though he missed it, because what he tends to do whenever he's really tight or when he's down in a set is he'll start slicing his backhand, which is probably the worst thing that he could do, given that's his strength.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I don't think I rarely ever see him slice his backhand. Lucky break with the net there. Got to put it over his head.
That time he hit an honest-to-God overhead. And it was actually really good. So my foot is in my mouth. That was a tight second serve. Absolutely no acceleration on the racket head, and it just floated past the service line. It's tough. I mean, even a player as good as Jon gets tight, you know. All of a sudden, it's a break point after being up 30-love. That is just too good. And that was just kind of set up by Jon coming in on a ball he probably shouldn't have come in on. It wasn't as good of a shot as he thought he was, and Patrick had way too much time to put the lob over his head, and then Jon got in this crazy defensive position. Been quite a number of breaks though, so I don't know that this set is a foregone conclusion quite yet.
Patrick indicating that just wide.
Good start whenever you're serving for the set and you get that first point. It really makes all the difference in the world. Just gives you a little room to breathe. It's great swinging volley there. Jon will not be hitting any overheads anytime soon. I can guarantee that. In our doubles match yesterday, he hit one, and it actually went in, and it was we won the point from it. But he was so proud about it. Like, afterwards at dinner, he's talking about how he had hit an overhead. That was his biggest achievement of the match. The takeaway was, I'm capable of doing this. Not sure if that was in or out of his backhand.
It went out.
Went out.
Yeah.
A couple set points here. Wow, that's such good hitting on being a couple set points down. To be brave enough to go for those shots is great. Still got one more, but
Yeah, it's really easy to mentally check out and say, you know what, we'll just let the first set go and work on the second one.
right. Jon's that's one of his best qualities as a tennis player too. He just doesn't give up. Oh, and a tight serve from Patrick. Oh, it's a great rally. Really good hitting from both sides on there, but Patrick just a little stronger. And Jon was doing most of the heavy lifting on that rally, but Patrick's definitely did more than held his own, and now he's got another set point. Not a great way to end the set for Jon. Is a 6-3 first set for Patrick.
You're watching live coverage of HOUTEX 33 here at the Memorial Park Tennis Center, Houston, Texas. We're back in a moment. Want to thank everybody for watching day 2 of our live coverage of HOUTEX 33 here at Memorial Park Tennis Center. I also want to thank everybody who has supported the CC Sports Network. This is our 13th live broadcast since we started in May of 2012. As you know, this is our live web streaming sports initiative project, and our goal is to travel around the country, bring you the best in the gay and lesbian sports experience. And we've been really excited about what we have accomplished so far since we've started. Next year, we have 20 tournaments on tap that we want to do. It's going to be an ambitious schedule. Go to ccsportsnetwork.com to find out where we're headed next and to donate and support us.
That's a pretty great opening point for the second set.
While Mr. Squirrel goes across the court there.
Yeah. Squirrels are really, really prevalent here. I don't understand why, but...
Maybe they just like tennis.
They like to annoy the tennis players, I'm pretty sure. The U.S. Open this year, we went and watched some of the matches on the outer courts, and the Squirrels were also there. And, we were watching, I think, Kuznetsova versus Pineda, and a squirrel crawled up behind Flavia Pineda, and she screamed. It's actually really funny. And then Kuznetsova started playing with the squirrel when it darted across the court. It was funny. Very strange.
A little cool today. It was supposed to warm up a little, but the sun's not peeking out at all.
No, and that's a good point from Jon. All the people who came here to the tournament from the Northeast, we all thought that it was going to be warm. Like, oh, it's Texas, so we're going to just pack our Daisy Dukes, and it's been freezing the entire time.
Yeah, I had to go buy some sweatpants, a sweatshirt. I was like, oh my God, it's too cold. Because, you know, I have to set up like at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday it was like in the 50s. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
I'm a Miami boy. It's supposed to be warm everywhere.
Right.
Just wide.
Nothing's really going Jon's way right now, and he's going for the right things. He's missing by just a little bit, and I think Patrick's just been a little too
He's been
solid.
consistent, yeah.
And again, you can't really understate the importance of just getting the ball back into the court. And Patrick does a really good job of making sure the ball is not only over the court, over the net, but also really deep into the court, which makes it hard for Jon to sort of do anything off the shot. That's a good point.
So Jon has been around the tennis circuit for quite some time, right?
Well, since he's pushing 50, I've probably been on for, I think, 20 or 30 years. So. I don't know. I think he was here at the inaugural GLTA tournament. Martina Navratilova came, and there's a picture of them standing at the banquet. I'm just kidding.
He's your friend, John. But no, he's one of the veterans.
Yeah, he's been around the tour for. Everybody pretty much knows who he is. He's kind of if there is a celebrity on the tour, which is a ridiculous statement in itself, then it would be John.
How long has Patrick been playing, do you know?
He's also been around for a long time, but the strange thing is, you know, it tends to be a little regional, and so you don't really know a lot of the players from, like, you know, Texas if you live in the Northeast, and if you're in the Northeast.
In our travels, doing a lot of the tennis tournaments, we have noticed that a lot of players tend to stay in the if they're playing the South, they generally stay in the South. If they're playing East, they generally play in East. I mean, a few people across, travel all over the place.
Well, I mean, it's tough. I think the cost definitely prohibits a lot of people from just playing every tournament they want to play.
Right.
There's a few tournaments that people will make exceptions for.
Mm-hmm.
New York is one of them. Miami's one of them. Maybe Los Angeles is one of them. Actually, Houston is one of them too. I think a lot of people come here that you wouldn't expect to come here. The draw is bigger than a lot of the other draws are. DC is another one. People play a lot.
Right. This draw, I believe, was 126 players. I'm going to go back and look just to double check, but I believe it was 126. Yep, 126 players.
Yeah, I think the big ones. If I had to say the big three or the big four, I think it would be New York, DC, Miami, and San Francisco. Would be the ones that everybody plays, or they'd always have pretty sizable draws, no matter
right.
Without regard to the geography issue. But then there's the people like me who sort of like use their vacation time to go to GLTA tournaments and like to go experiment with new tournaments and things. So,
and then that's good though.
Yeah, there's
if
quite
that opportunity is there for you.
Yeah, there's quite a few of us who do that, and we tend to be this sort of the stalwarts of the tour, if there's such a thing.
Just wide.
Just nothing's really going right for John, and he's pushing so hard.
He's shaking his head because he knows it.
Again, I mean, you can't really isolate any one thing that he's done wrong. It's just that just way too solid from Patrick right now. Patrick also seems to have a minor entourage going on behind us. There's a row of bleachers, and as far as you know, the cheering sessions maybe aren't the hugest for GLTA tournaments, but he's got about 10 people back here cheering for him.
Yeah, I like to encourage folks that if you're definitely in the area for any of these tournaments, they're free to come out and watch. You know, you don't have to pay anything to enjoy some really good tennis. So if you're a big tennis fan, come out and support the players and watch some great tennis. Some of these tournaments are conducive to sitting back, relaxing, and have a place to sit.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we didn't get to go back to Las Vegas this year, but I don't know if you played Las Vegas before, but the Darling Tennis Center is so nice, and their stadium court they have is a joy to film in because it's easier for us to set up, but it just has a very nice feel to it.
Yeah, I've never actually played that tournament, but I've heard the exact same thing from everybody, and I've seen pictures of the tennis center. It's great.
And the weather's great.
Oh, of
Never
course.
rains.
Never rains.
I made that comment to somebody because we had a lot of our equipment destroyed in Indianapolis last year, and I had gone to Las Vegas. And I hadn't set up the umbrellas yet. And I go, does it rain a lot here? And the guy goes, what rain?
What is rain? I'm not familiar with this word. Isn't that a Madonna song? I never knew what she was talking about. This game is actually pretty important. If Jon gets down 2-0, you start to feel like, God, today's not my day. I think they have muffins at the tournament desk. But if you can get back and it's 1-1, then you start to feel a little more, okay, I can get back into this match. It was just one break in the first set. Not that big of a deal.
So HOUTEX is played on 2 courts. Over at Lee LeClaire, they have BC and D divisions. And over here at Memorial Park, they have Open and A. And then all the finals matches will be over here on Sunday. So we were at Lee LeClaire yesterday. Had an opportunity to see some B doubles, C singles match, and B singles. And all that's in the archives below. So if you look below on the live streaming page, you'll see all the archive videos from yesterday.
You sort of come on from Jon. He got back on serve here, so it's 1-1. Jon's not going to give it away. Like, he will be very, very hard. He'll fight hard the entire time. A great shot from Jon. I think you're gonna see him get back into this match and sort of start fighting more. And then I think, once you get into the match and you start feeling a little more confident, all of a sudden the shots that were just missing, or they start to go in a little more, and then you start feeling more confident over it.
A squeak from the court.
That's actually probably the biggest benefit to seeing this than another sporting event. If you're just a member of the public and want to come watch a sporting event, you're always going to hear some sort of shriek or yelp at a gay tennis tournament. It's in the cards. It's a guarantee. You'll usually see one or two fashion-forward ensembles. Haven't seen it quite yet today. Yesterday there were a couple, my own included. I just missed that one wide, it looked like. I have to say too, there's a little history between these guys. They've never played in singles before, but they actually played doubles yesterday. And Guerrica and his extremely handsome partner beat Patrick and his partner.
But he wasn't handsome, you didn't say.
He was handsome enough, just not as handsome as Jon's partner. For Jon, he really needs to strike the balance here between hitting out on his backhand, which he wants to do, and he wants to be aggressive, but he also needs to not go for dumb shots like he just did. Couple break points here for Patrick. That's so good.
Wow, nice cross-court backhand winner there.
When Jon has time to set up for his backhand, it's just see ya. There's no way to defend it. Almost. You really just have to guess and pick a part of the court to stand in and hope that he didn't see you move. Good serve. I think what it is Patrick's just doing a really good job defending and then using those opportunities when he has them to come in and really step in and put the ball away. I didn't actually see him do much of yesterday. He sort of more relied on the errors of Tony Tran whenever he was playing him. But today's his defense is really good. That's a great point.
And off his forehand, too.
Off his forehand. When Jon is a winner off his forehand, you know something's going right for him. That was a wonderful point. And that's the thing. I mean, Patrick was doing exactly what he'd been doing the entire match, which is just getting the balls back and making sure they're deep. And that time, Jon just had that one extra shot to finish him off. But things are getting good. This match is getting very good. Oh.
Don't forget, everybody, the chat room is open. Feel free to jump in the chat room and offer your comments, well wishes, commentary, whatever you like. Just be nice.
Still a smidge early for people, I think.
Yeah, it is.
For the gay community in particular. That's a great shot. It's nice to see when the points are being determined with winners, not errors, or at least winners are forced errors, not sort of unforced errors. But
Exactly. And I also noticed that Jon's placing it more. You know, he's really using that down the line shot quite a bit.
yeah. It's a good hold there from Jon. It's on serve in the second.
You're watching live coverage. HOUTEX 33 here, Memorial Park Tennis Center. Don't go anywhere. More coming for you in a moment. Patrick serving, number 3 seed. Won the first set 6-3. The number 1 seed Jon Guerrica is up 2-1 on serve. Joining us on the mic, the tournament director from Cap Classic, who got to commentate all of 5 seconds when we were at Cap Classic, and then he got called away from some nonsense and never came back.
Hey guys, glad to be on the air with you. Sorry to join late, I was playing my own match. We won't talk about that. We'll talk about this one. I was a little surprised to sit down and see the score because from my court I could hear the famous Guerrica squawk. Sort of like the kavit of a cawing bird. So
Yeah.
that's usually something you hear when Jon's playing well, is happy out there.
He started playing a lot better probably when you started hearing that. reversal of fortune here a little bit. Patrick all of a sudden is the one forcing the issue a little bit too much and hitting a little wide, or that's what Jon was doing in the first set.
That slice just barely gets over the net. What are you laughing about? I'm sure it was totally on purpose.
Totally on purpose.
But effective.
Incredibly effective. And that's the thing with Jon. Sometimes you want to tell him not to hit his slice, but then sometimes it's so good.
Yeah.
So
well, basically anything that comes off the backhand side with him is going to be tough for the opponent.
It's tough, but like sometimes whenever he's hitting the slice, it's because he's timid. He's being timid off of it, and he doesn't feel like he can hit out. But sometimes when he does it, it's purely strategic to make your life horrible.
Seems to be a momentum switch where
Oh, for sure.
maybe Patrick tightening up a little bit. I don't play the opens very often, but it can be a lot of pressure on you. And when Jon's across the net, ball comes pretty hard, pretty fast. This is a nice long point from the guys. Patrick hit a really great forehand just in front of the baseline, and Jon was able to get it back and eking out the point. Oh, wow. That's great defense from Jon.
That was a monster return. Just monster. And there's a little rage behind it, actually. Because I think Patrick can start to feel, he feels this momentum change. Everybody knows it.
You know, it was a little subdued when I walked over here a few minutes ago, and now like the tension is definitely picked up a little bit.
For sure.
Just wait till Jon starts slapping his thigh. Things are gonna get really crazy.
I think that already happened a little bit. There was some thigh slapping, but he just pulls up a little bit on that forehand. Sometimes.
He was probably thinking about the Miss Universe pageant tonight, just very briefly.
Who's not thinking about the Miss Universe pageant?
But when you're out there on the court in a semifinal, you cannot let anything creep in. Especially the Miss Kazakhstan's evening gown. So right back after the changeover, with Guerrica leading 4-1, have another nice baseline rally. Jon hits it in the net. The other open final, or semifinal rather, has finished, and the winner of this match will play Matt Glasgow. We watched him play yesterday. He has really nice clean strokes. And Jon actually played him in doubles yesterday, and Patrick is Matt Glasgow's doubles partner. So either way, there'll be a lot of, I suppose, a friendly rivalry either way.
Matt's the number 4 seed, so the seedings will almost hold up for this tournament for the Open.
Nice serve out wide from Patrick. His really nice clean service motion. Jon tries to Maria Sharapova swing backhand volley and let it drop a little too low. You got to take that up over your shoulder so you're still kind of swinging down on it. Of course, most coaches would tell you not to hit that shot at all.
Another double fall, the second one. So what's your next tournament you're playing in?
Oh, well, this is the end of my season, but my friends are trying to pressure me to go to Miami, and I understand you'll be in Miami as well.
I should be.
And if the Miami tournament director is out there, that should be means get your check in. All this travel for Thomas is not cheap. So if you want to support the community and support the GLTA and especially support CCE, let's make sure he's out at. Thomas, what did you say the goal was for tournaments next year?
20.
That's
Wow,
like a
insane.
Yankovic type schedule for you.
It's true.
Or maybe a Wozniacki.
Yeah, it's an insane amount, but we want to turn this into a little mini ESPN for gay sports. So we want to add flag football, volleyball, and softball next year. So.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Well, you do pageants too, right? So clearly,
the pageants in there.
Clearly, you
That's
chose
discipline.
gay tennis over the Miss Universe pageant tonight. I'm sure you would have.
I would love to see the gay commentary for a Miss Universe pageant.
I would too, except this year not so much because it's in Moscow.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I don't want to
Crickets.
I don't want to send my brethren into the dark forest.
Radio silence. Is there a signal?
So Jon, getting a little frustrated, made a couple of early errors in this game. He needs to come back center and, as Billie Jean King says, play in the moment.
So
There you
good.
go. That's a good way to get back in.
And that serve had really nothing on it, but it was just so well placed.
I'm telling him you said that. So Jon is up now 5-2 in the second set. So this is actually, I think, a really big game coming up. If Jon is able to win this game, he'll have a lot of momentum going into a third set. Meanwhile, if Patrick can get a game here, maybe get close on Jon's service game or break, or is that the end of the second
we may have
set
this.
already? I think we may have
the score wrong.
I think that's the end of
It's
the
apparently
second
the
set,
set.
apparently.
If people called scores, it would be easier to.
Right.
do this.
Let's complain about how John doesn't call the score.
I think it's a 6-1
I know
set.
how he likes that. So
All you open people, what you talking about?
So this is going to be a very important game nonetheless because it's the first game of the third set. The always important initial game. Mary Jo Fernandez would be real angry with us
These sorts of shenanigans would never happen in a straight type league. The gays are sort of like 6-1, 5-2. Let's
Girl,
have a
look at his
drink.
shirt. And then we got distracted.
Next year, the scorekeeper is supposed to be on board.
Oh. a hired hand.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
I can't do it all.
So it was 6-1, ladies and gentlemen. Not 5-2.
Oh, we got it totally wrong.
We just missed one of the games in the beginning, and that's
Yeah.
what did it. Probably when I was talking about.
It was clearly during Miss Universe. Let's not. Let's not.
No, I got on a soapbox about something that it clearly wasn't that important, as I can't remember what it was.
Is there anything going on in the chat room today? Shouldn't
No,
Bobby
the
Sharp be in there?
The chat room is quiet. It's been quiet all weekend.
Someone text Bobby Sharp.
Oh, no, actually, I can't say that. David's sister and friends were in the chat room yesterday when we were broadcasting his match.
Bobby's got father duties now. He can't he can't be bothered with the chat room.
Well, the players are taking an extended break. We'll be back in a second. So we got new balls. Third set.
The new balls on these courts, usually I don't think it makes as much of a difference, but these courts, it definitely makes a
huge
difference.
So, right before we start this third set, I guess they're not so happy with the new balls, but we're going to read tarot cards for both players. We have WTA tarot cards. There is a player on each card, and we're going to draw one for each player.
There's
And
100.
It's going to explain how this third set is going to go from them, and it's never been wrong before.
It's never been wrong.
So,
And Fine Matt goes by the alter ego Gypsy Feinberg.
the cards never lie.
The cards never lie. He will probably start having booths at tournaments
Right.
coming on.
And at some tournaments, it will only be $2.
$2. Half goes to charity.
But it's always right.
You can rest assured that the prediction will be accurate.
For instance, we read Jon's tarot cards before the New York tournament this year, and he drew Marion Bartoli and Sabine Lisicki, and he won his first round match, One in Love. And then he drew Alizé Cornet, and he lost. So if that's not proof right there, I don't know what is. And so I think first, why don't we draw for Patrick since he's serving?
Okay, so this is Patrick. How will the third set go for Patrick Smollen?
That's an interesting pick. So
We have-
representing Miss Greece in
Miss
the third
Greece.
set, Eleni Danilou.
Who most of you probably don't know. She is a Greek tennis stalwart.
Probably a lesbian, so it's fitting. For
No,
GLTA
John
tournament.
saw her actually at the old hotel that he worked at with her boyfriend.
You know what? It's probably potentially slanderous. I mean, no ill will,
Yeah.
Eleni. Sorry.
Well, I set
I'm a
the
lawyer.
records.
I was saying it out of love, not
I
out
set-
of criticism.
I set the record straight, so there's no slander here.
No
We're
slander.
okay. And for John,
And I love Eleni Danilou.
oh, who doesn't?
And
There's nothing.
so John's third set card. I actually don't even know who that is. Oh, okay. So again, particularly appropriate for a gay tennis tournament. Luxica Cum currently ranked a career high like 107 or something
Right.
like that.
Actually, so the tarot game is fun because in addition to, there has to be a sexual tinge to whatever we do. And one of the questions that we generally ask is, so we'll ask, how will this person perform in singles? How will they perform in their doubles match? And then what will their love life be in the near future? So John's actually would have been a good one for the last question.
Really? I think we're getting a little inappropriate here, Jake.
I'm just veering into that territory, but I'm just saying somebody's first name and last name. It's their given name and their family name. It's
Right.
nothing.
Well, she's Asian, so I
crass
believe
about that.
She's actually Cum Luxica, right?
Well, no, because
You read
she's
it backwards? I don't.
because she's from Southeast Asia, so
Oh, okay. I don't remember where she's from.
they don't do
but-
that there.
But we're looking her up right now. And she is ranked a career high 114 this week. She's 20 years old, from Thailand. And she actually just lost in the semifinals of the Taipei tournament to a very, very dangerous Yanina Wickmeyer. I'm surprised that Yanina Wickmeyer has won a match all year, but it was over over Luxica Cum.
Oh. Patrick has done that a couple times where you think everything's going fine, and then it's just sort of this into the net that hits the top of the tape and falls back on his side. That's a really good point from Patrick.
I missed that trying to look up Eleni Danilou's ranking. She's so far down now that I had to keep scrolling. She's 189 this week.
Oh, I thought she'd retired.
Well, maybe she did.
I thought you retired because
She
everyone
actually
thought
looks
you were
really
dead.
cute in her WTA profile picture. You don't look horrible at all. But she's lying about her weight.
That's slanderous.
It's okay. Everyone at a GLTA tournament lies about their weight.
No way.
Wow. It's a great get off the lob and then screaming forehand cross court.
That was the point of the turn, or probably not the tournament, but definitely the point of the match. That's a really good hold from Patrick to start out this third set.
I think it was really important for him to get that game after that second set.
Definitely, to
going so
stop
quickly.
To stop that bleeding from the second set. I don't know, when you get a shot like that too, that he got that lob back and then he hit that really good forehand cross court, that's going to give him a little energy going into the rest of the set.
And we'll see how Jon reacts to that. I mean, that's a tough point to lose. Obviously was in the offense the entire way, and then sort of that over-the-shoulder stab get on the lob.
It's just really too good. It's a really good serve.
Serve to start.
It always surprises me that Jon can hit that serve on that side, because he's a lefty. You would think that his better serve would be down the tee, but he actually favors the out wide on that on the deuce side.
He sort of serves like a right-hander. The spin is a little weird, or at least I've played Jon a couple times, unfortunately, and first round, of course, and somehow the ball spins a little more like a righty than a lefty. Some harder hitting towards the end of that.
Yeah,
point.
I'm not sure that's the strategy Patrick wants to
Right.
adopt here. It's just not. It's really difficult to out hit Jon.
Especially because it's going to be a lot of Patrick's forehand to Jon's backhand.
Yeah, I was talking to Thomas about this earlier, and it's sort of like playing a righty, even though Jon's a lefty, because of the fact that his backhand is his better shot.
Exactly. That's a great shot from Patrick. Very deep in the court, very flat, very hard.
That's the thing he's been doing well this entire match, is keeping the ball really deep, making Jon, taking away Jon's ability to just hit out on the backhand. Jon's backhand is good when he's about 3 or 4 feet inside the court. That's when it's at its best. Got away with that Sarah Arani second serve.
I mean, even though it's a little slower, it's still a tough serve, because there's a little bit of a kick on it because of the way he holds the racket. He's lefty, so it's spinning out wide. And when you have someone like Jon on the other side of the net, you have to hit a good return. So there's a lot of pressure on a ball that's probably over your shoulder, needing to go.
So how exactly does Lexika Come play? Does she play like Jon? Was that a good card for him from a tennis
I'm gonna be
perspective?
honest. I don't think Looks Like a Cum Cum gets a lot of airtime at the Grand Slams. I frankly don't know if she's really ever even been in the main draw. I think she probably qualified once. Yeah, she definitely did.
Oh,
So
frustration there.
a little bit of anger, almost knocking the camera off the fence. That would have been a several $100 point penalty. I'm sure John's sorry.
I'm glad for some reason I decided to tie the camera down just
Right.
a little bit better than I did yesterday, because if it was like yesterday, that shit would have flown right off.
John recognized his mistake immediately. Gave the mommy I'm sorry.
That's a very Nalbandian move of him,
Yeah.
kicking the lines judge.
And I'm wondering if maybe this show of anger, this backfired show of anger, could be bad for John, actually, because he sometimes doesn't always zone back in after he gets angry and does something silly. Maybe he should stick to the thigh slapping.
Should stick to the thigh slapping. I think it's hilarious when he does things like this, because it's not even the end of the world. I mean, at that point, like, yes, he should have won the point, but that point just there was more important, it seemed like.
Right.
And he didn't make the same.
Right.
The gesticulations. As
So,
Thomas went to
Thomas
actually
could
fix
the camera.
That John destroyed.
So the velocity has changed on the ball a great deal in this point. Oh, some really good defense from John. Made Patrick hit one more shot. It's the key to victory.
The key to victory.
Hit one more shot in than your opponent does.
You're right. If we were on the newlywed game, then we would be winning, because I just said that twice while you weren't here.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was not listening while playing my
Exactly.
match, so
He was in the isolation booth.
Omer, are you listening out there? You're in trouble.
I think it's the game point here.
So that was an interesting game where the strategy and the shot selection completely changed.
That was a very bizarre game, actually.
Slice forehands from John. A couple of moon balls at times.
He loves to unleash his inner pants driver once in a while. Those slice forehands. Pam Shriver is actually John's one of his favorite tennis players.
Yeah, I read an article about Pam Shriver wrote the article in Tennis Magazine a couple years ago. It's one of the actually most interesting articles. It was right before Wimbledon, and she was talking about what it was like to be in the seated locker room for the first time. Apparently at Wimbledon, I don't know if they still do, but they have two locker rooms. They have the top 16, or now I guess top 32 seeds, in one locker room, and then everybody else gets to share another locker room, which is approximately the same size. So Pam Shriver was saying one of the biggest, exciting moments of her career was to get in a seated locker room at Wimbledon for the first time, because she got to sit down. And so John got to be in the seated locker room this morning here at the Houston tournament.
Really?
He was relishing the opportunity to have the monogram towel and a butler to carry your tennis bag to the court.
Oh.
But you should go find that article because Pam Shriver actually says some really funny things in it. And you're a tennis junkie, so I figured you'd like it.
I would like that. I'm sure. Not a good time.
Things getting a little tight here
Yeah.
early in the third set.
Definitely not a good time to do a double fault.
This might be a good opportunity for Patrick to, walk back to the fence and take a couple deep breaths and
Or just serve.
find himself again, right? Or be like Jennifer Capriati and go straight back to the line. Hope for the best.
He really is struggled with that when he's lost points on his forehand. He's hitting it into the top of the net quite a bit. I don't think he's getting enough clearance over the net. Again.
So another long point, a couple of moon balls. Patrick going for a little too much. Hits the net, and I think that's the first break here in the third set.
You're watching live coverage of HOUTEX 33 here at the Memorial Park Tennis Center, Houston, Texas, presented by the Houston Tennis Club and brought to you by the CCE Sports Network, where diversity lives. The number 1 seed, Jon Guerrica, serving.
So Jon Guerrica to serve at 2-1, third set. So we just found out that we know some people in the chat room watching live coverage of HOUTEX 33. And we're going to ask them to ask some questions or bring in some discussion topics for the commentators. You know who you are.
That was a really good shot from Jon.
Gets the racket clap from Patrick. I assume you know who invented the racket clap, correct?
No, who was that?
Andre Agassi.
He did?
Yes.
Who
Well,
invented?
he's widely credited with inventing the racket clap. I don't know if he was the first.
I'd like to know who invented saying "yap" when somebody hits a good shot. Like "yep."
Yeah.
No one ever says "yep" in real life, and yet on the tennis court, people say the
Yep.
word "yep."
It's true. And I was reading an article on one of those like buzz feeds or something. It was one of those buzz feeds for tennis players.
23 or some
Yeah.
random number, some prime number.
23, yes. 23 times, come on, screamed with such passion that you cried, like things like that.
Okay.
But there was a little thing at the bottom, and it credited Patrick Rafter with coining the tennis.
Come on.
The cheer, the come on, yeah.
Even over, I thought it was Hewitt.
I think you might be right. Actually, I remembered it was an Australian, and I thought it was a little too early for Hewitt, but I think you're right. They think it was. I believe you are correct. It was Hewitt. I thought it was Rafter,
and the reason I know
they interviewed Rafter for the article.
And the reason I know that is because Leighton Hewitt is actually filed for international trademark protection for the word "come on." And this is my lawyerly background coming into the picture here, but he is filed for protection for a line of apparel.
Interesting.
And he actually does wear apparel that says "come on" it. It's really ugly.
I bet it is.
Slander, but
it's okay. I actually, I'm a trial litigator, and I have a few slander cases. I'll defend you.
Really, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I could tell you about them, but they're not interesting in the slightest.
It's another forehand into the
Really?
net.
Come on.
Yeah, he really did.
I mean, how can
really
you not
did.
have a permissible use for any time you want to use "come on"?
Well, no, the way trademark protection works is so you get the protection only for the use in connection with whatever's covered by the
Right.
application. So his application covers like
People who want
bandanas and like
that want t-shirts.
I think the exact language was douchey clothes. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
I never said that.
You.
So if you want to use the word for clothes that are not categorized as douchey, then go
Is that
ahead.
what he actually put on the application? He thinks you might be lying.
He thinks I would be lying.
Another long point here. And if they hit a little harder, it would be just as interesting as our conversation. There we go.
John heard you, and
He did.
upped
He
the
decided
ante.
to flatten that out, go down the line. Patrick, I think, not expecting it, gets there a step late. So we actually, I don't know why people aren't asking questions in the chat room, but we're starting to get text messages from the fans. And Tanner Davenport is sending us a message. He wants us to talk about how both players use older rackets and how they stack up to the newer frames. I don't know what you're talking about, Tanner. They're not wooden rackets, so I suppose they're relatively new in the grand scheme of things.
Got a slight controversy here. A good-natured, smiley controversy about a line call. I think John ended up giving it to Patrick because they're such good friends.
Yes.
John was way off balance on that backhand. I don't know what he was thinking.
It would be interesting to have a tournament where you're required to play with wooden rackets. Or maybe we would have it. Maybe the Miami tournament will have a wood racket exhibition.
Have you played with a wooden racket recently?
No. Oh no.
Ever since
when I was growing up. Okay, I'll tell a little story from the archives. So I started playing tennis in 1992 when Jennifer Capriati won the Olympic gold medal. 6-3, 3-6, 6-4. Or no, sorry, 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 over Steffi Graf.
And you remember it's clearly.
And I became immediately obsessed with women's tennis.
Okay.
And I started to, God, this is a little embarrassing, but I used to play WTA tournaments against the wall outside my house. And I would play as whoever my WTA favorite of the moment was. And interestingly, that
Complete
person
with skirt and everything.
always. I did not wear a skirt. But I would like to point out that every time that I picked a player to be my favorite, they won the tournament.
And I picked Steffi, followed by Steffi, followed by Steffi.
Right. So what was interesting was, my parents didn't really play tennis. And so they had a couple wooden rackets. And so I played with a wooden racket until I, picked an angry player or something. Jennifer Capriati used to throw her racket a lot. So if I picked her, I would end up throwing my racket. And I think I broke, in addition to many windows in my house, some wooden rackets. And so my parents bought me like a $10 Walmart racket. And I still play with it today. No, just kidding.
Well, I actually have a friend. He plays the GLTA tournament, and he still plays with a wooden racket. He likens himself to Chris Evert. And we were just playing around and hitting, and he let me borrow. We swapped rackets so that we could see walk a mile in the other person's shoe. And
I can't imagine
it's very
you,
bouncy.
yeah.
It's very springy. It's not at all like hitting with this type of racket.
I cannot imagine with your strokes you enjoying hitting with a wooden racket.
It's true.
And I don't mean that to be critical so much as
no, you definitely learn.
You don't hit the sweet spot on every single shot, which is sort of what you need to do to be successful with a wooden racket.
That's for sure.
For those of you who've never seen Jake play, he has some, quote, unorthodox, unquote, strokes.
Just my forehand, right? Crickets.
Yes. Just your forehand. And volley.
And volley. Well, anything that's forehand oriented, right?
And serve. Yes.
And serve. My backhand's okay, though.
Sure. Yeah, it's great. Totally orthodox. But you're better than me, and I have very orthodox strokes, so.
You do have very orthodox strokes.
Like, I bought mine at Sears. Like, it's so mainstream. So, Jon getting down really low, a la Agnieszka Radwanska, to get a couple of those backhands back.
It's a
Pays
good break
off.
there. Yeah.
And with it, a 4-1 lead. Number 114 beats number 187 every time. Who's that?
Third and final set, best 2 out of 3. Patrick wins the first set 6-3. Jon Guerrica won the second set 6-1. Jon finds himself up 4-1, and he serves now.
So John has started to grunt a little bit. Usually that means he's getting a little tense about the finish line. Not necessarily that he's getting tight, but he senses that he's in command and needs to keep playing, keep hitting the ball as opposed to getting tentative. However, I've noticed that Patrick plays well from behind, so this is by no means over.
Yeah, it's just really important that John continues to seize the moment and be aggressive. And then he throws in a
Well timed.
tight,
Mr. Bishop.
Exactly. Tight double fault there.
I would even give you a Navratilova-esque slap on the back for the time. And now 3 missed serves in a row. Little thigh slap. Get himself back in the moment.
And you really want that one back if you're Patrick. It's not that tough of a serve, it seems like, and then you're trying to go for it, but you're also a little tight. You don't want to make a mistake, and then you end up making a bad mistake.
Yeah. I think, in an open semifinal, down 4-1 in the third, every shot counts.
Yeah.
Patrick, obviously frustrated with himself at this point.
It's a good hold there, though, and just one game away now from making the final, where he'll meet Matt Glasgow. Glasgow. I don't know.
Glasgow? Didn't you play him in doubles yesterday? Shouldn't you know these things?
I did play him in doubles yesterday, but I don't know. I'm not good with learning new names. Let's put it that way.
Isn't your job making sure that names are accurate? No, seriously.
I'm bad with people's names, not product names. I'm actually very good with product names.
You're going through a sudden change right now?
Sudden change. Yeah, that's my favorite part of my job, is that I get to I do trademark searching for a cosmetics company primarily, and I get to discover new product names all the time, one of which is Sudden Change, which is my favorite of all time.
Is that a wrinkle cream?
It's a whole line of skincare products.
Oh.
Yeah. Sudden Change.
Jake and I have a group of friends that create custom T-shirts for tennis tournaments. We do have one for this tournament, and we thought it would be funny to sponsor ourselves with corporate patches a la the WTA. AmeriCorps. So we chose 3 very important brands to us, led by Sudden Change. But my personal favorite, Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
And what was the third one? 17 Magazine. Unfortunately,
we were dinged and we were not allowed to do it. Wow.
That's a great shot. They used to write about that in 17 Magazine. But so we were not allowed to sponsor ourselves because those are actual companies who don't allow you to put their logo on random shirts.
Right. And both of us being lawyers, one of us being an intellectual property lawyer, probably should have known that.
Right.
Or at least anticipated.
Anticipated that it could be a problem. Short ball.
Jinkies.
No! That was a really amazing point.
That
But
is a great point.
honestly, it was a subpar racket throwing at the end. Like, if you're going to try and hit that ball, you really need to throw it. And he just kind of let it jump out.
He lacked a little
He lacked
conviction.
enthusiasm with that
Sure.
racket throw. But the whole rest of the point was great.
Yeah. Right. match point here, I think.
And that's it.
And Jon Guerrica comes through at 6-1, 6-1 after dropping the first set.
It was actually, I don't think the score was necessarily indicative of the quality of play in that second and third set. It was much closer. Jon just really won the big points, won the deuce points, made fewer unforced errors. But that was a beaut.
Yes, it was. And you're exactly right. I mean, Jon just started not making the mistakes that he was making before, and the first set he was really just missing things by a little bit. It wasn't like he was getting blown off the court or anything, and then everything just came together, and all of a sudden, there's a sudden change, and he's up 6-1, 6-1.
A sudden change.
A sudden change.
So
interestingly, we think that he had 17 winners.
I think he did 17 winners.
And now he's going to go have some Haagen-Dazs on the way home.
I think that's for sure.
Maybe
going to do that
a little bit right before, and the fist pump. Come on!
Is it time for an interview? An on-court interview?
Okay.
All right. Jon, congratulations on your win. How are you feeling after this match?
Yay! Oh gosh, Patrick is a great player. It was. I'm just really, really happy I got through that. Absolutely, super tired and super happy.
What did you do differently after the first set? Because you dropped it. It seemed like you were just missing by a little bit on shots, and then he was just making you hit one more shot, and you're just missing slightly, and then all of a sudden it just turned around.
Oh, he's getting everything back. My game plan was to be aggressive, and from the start, he was much more aggressive than I was. He was having sex with me all over the court, and it was and it hurt. It wasn't good. It wasn't fun, but I think after I realized that I wasn't going to win that way, and that he wanted to dictate, I think I just told myself I have to be more aggressive, whether it goes in or not. I can't go out that way, so let's just play.
I ain't going down that way.
So,
but how frustrating was it having him hit so many really good shots, and you had to just do more and more and more? I mean, it was a 6-1, 6-1 second and third set, but it was tighter than that.
Yeah, it felt really tight. Like every point felt like could have gone the other way. There was lots of deuce and lots of games where he was up, and I wanted it so bad today. I wanted it so bad. So. Well,
good. Well, congratulations. You still have doubles with your extremely handsome partner.
Yes. My bestie and I are going to.
What's it like playing with somebody who's so attractive? Can you concentrate whenever you're playing?
That's funny. I was going to ask you the same question.
Okay. And we're also going to talk to Patrick. Congratulations. Well, I guess not congratulations. Good match.
Thanks for rubbing it in. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
But you were in every game. I mean, you were every point, and the points were really long. And what do you think that made the difference in those points?
I'm just not in good enough shape to keep up with this guy. After the first set, I was just done. I did my best. He kept the points really long, and he just made more balls than I did.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to like the pace, though, and he kept throwing in a couple change-ups, and that's where it seemed to have problems. On your forehand in particular, you kind of hit a little into the tape a little bit whenever he...
Yeah, I couldn't step into the ball. My timing was a little off. I think that's exactly what he wanted to do, and that's what he accomplished with those kind of change-ups. Yeah. No, he played really well, though. It was a good match.
It was really fun to watch. There was some really... I think you actually hit the point of the tournament, we said. Whenever
I'll take it.
You had a couple really good points, but one you had just... You flicked this... there was a lob, and you flicked it back, and then you ended up winning it with a screaming forehand winner across court. Do you remember that point?
I blacked out for like half the match. I don't even know what happened.
Well, it did actually happen. It was
Oh,
probably
good.
the best shot we saw.
I
So
got it's on camera.
yeah,
Can
it's
I
just
get a
there.
copy of that?
Yeah, you definitely can. You definitely can. So, well,
All right.
sorry you didn't win, but
No, it's okay. It was fun. It was a good match. It should be a good final too. So.
yeah, your doubles partner.
Yeah.
What do you give his chances against Jon? What should he do differently?
He just needs to play his game. He's a good player. I'm curious to see what'll happen. It'll be a good match.
All right, but thanks for talking with us.
So I want to thank everybody for watching the semifinal match of the men's singles open division. The number 1 seed, Jon Guerrica, winning over number 3 seed, Patrick Smollen, 3-6, 6-1, 6-1. We'll see if we have another match on tap for you in a few moments, so don't go anywhere. You're watching live coverage of HOUTEX 33 here at the Memorial Park Tennis Center, Houston, Texas. We're back in a moment.